Hello everybody, thanks so much for joining me and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be jumping back into Python Crash Course 3rd edition and taking a look at Chapter 4, Try It Yourself Problems 4-3, Counting to 20, 4-4, 1 million, and 4-5, Summing a Million. Alright, jumping into 4-3, Counting to 20, we are tasked to use a for loop to print the numbers from 1 to 20 inclusive. So we're trying to include all the numbers of 1 to 20, where 20 will be included in the range. Python makes this really easy for us with the built-in range function. We're going to use a for loop to iterate over this range object and print the values that are within the range object. For example, let's say we have a variable called 1 to 20, where we give it the value of the range of 1 to, in this case, we want to say 21, 1 greater than the value, because we're including the value of 20. The range function will exclude the parameter given as the end constraint for the range. In this case, 21 will be excluded, but 20 will be included within the range object. The range object is captured within the variable 1 to 20, and we can say for value in 1 to 20, print value. And if we go ahead and run this function, we will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up until 20. We can simplify this further by eliminating the use of a variable and just directly inserting the range object into our for loop. For example, we can copy the existing range object and insert it directly as the iteration object in our for loop. We can then remove the actual variable creation and go ahead and print, and as you can see, we get the same output. Alright, we just successfully printed the values of 1 to 20. Alright, we just successfully printed the values of 1 to 20 inclusive using a for loop. Moving on to 4-4, 1 million, we are asked to make a list of the numbers from 1 to 1 million and then use a for loop to print the numbers. If the output is taking too long, stop it by pressing Ctrl+C or by closing the output window. We can do a similar approach as we did in 4-3, but for this one we need to convert our range object into a list. So let's first go ahead and get a range object of 1 to 1 million and see what that object looks like. We'll make a variable called 1 to million, where we will house a range object starting at the value of 1 and ending at the value of 1 million and 1. We want to go one further than the end in the range because the end parameter is excluded by default. If we go ahead and take a similar approach to 4-3 and say for value in 1 to million, print the value, and we go ahead and run this, you can see it is going and will go and print every value to 1 million. One more time, there it is. We can do the same thing as we did before and just take this range object and move it into our for loop directly, eliminating the need for the variable at all, and this will work the same way, printing the values of 1 to 1 million. But this problem is specifically asking for the 1 to 1 million variable to be a list rather than a range object. If we go ahead and print the 1 to 1 million right away before we do the actual print of the evaluation of the range, you can see we get just a range object given back to us. We need this to be in a list format, so let's go ahead and convert this variable into a list using the list function. We can just take the 1 to 1 million variable and reassign it the value of a list on the 1 to 1 million. This is taking our 1 to 1 million range object, converting it to a list, and then reassigning it back to the value of the variable of 1 to 1 million. Now if we go ahead and print the 1 to 1 million variable, we get a list of all the values within the range of 1 to 1 million, separated by commas and encapsulated and wrapped in braces. Now we can go ahead and insert directly our 1 to 1 million variable into here to iterate over the list rather than the range object. Now this will print similar to how it did before, but we are iterating over a list, no longer a range. Alright, that was 3-4, 1 million. Alright, in 4-5, summing a million, we are asked to make a list of the numbers from 1 to 1 million and then use the min and max functions to make sure the list actually starts at 1 and ends at 1 million. Also, use the sum function to see how quickly Python can add a million numbers. This one is very similar to the structure of 4-4, 1 million, but we're going to just use some functions to check to make sure it is A, set up correctly, and then sum all the values inside. Let's go ahead and first make that range object. So the 1 to million variable will house a range object starting at 1 and ending at 1 million and 1. We can then convert this value and save it as the current value of the variable we're working with, 1 to 1 million, by doing the list of the current 1 to 1 million range object. This will now convert that to a list and save it back as its current variable. Let's go ahead and call the min function on the 1 to 1 million variable. This will return the minimum value found within this variable, which is a list containing integers. Let's save this as the minimum. Then let's call the same similar function but for the maximum with the max function. And let's add the 1 to 1 million, which will return the maximum integer value contained within this iterable object list of integers 1 to 1 million. Let's then call print to the minimum and call a print to the maximum and see that we have 1 and 1 million being reported correctly. Let's add some f-string syntax here, however, to report that the minimum is equal to the minimum variable. And we'll do a similar format to the maximum just to display it visually in a more pretty format or visually appealing format. As you can see, we get minimum equals 1 and maximum equals 1 million, so our range object is including both of those values correctly and then encompassing that in a list. We now want to use the sum function to sum all the values within the range or this list object of 1 to 1 million. Let's say that the summation is equal to the sum of 1 to 1 million. Let's go ahead and print out a statement saying summation equals to the summation variable, and we'll insert that f to a capture for f-string syntax. Let's go ahead and print this, and as you can see, we get the summation of the values of 1 to 1 million, which is this value here. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me. This was 4.3, 4.4, and 4-5 of Python Crash Course Chapter 4. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.